Welcome, everybody. It is Sideline Sports Time. It is the best time of the week. It is Tuesday evening. It is myself. It is John. It is JB. And gentlemen, I told you before anything got started tonight, I would be taking over the intro. And in doing so, I need to change one thing. My name is not right. That's better. That's right. Your boy is GM of the year and the fantasy football champion. And JB, you're not going to say a word because I got to tell you something. You can complain, but I'm going to tell you something. There were three.
Tainted championship. He got muted.
Can I do the honors?
Can I take a moment here and explain something? JB, I'll add you back if you can just be quiet for just a moment. Because you can complain, but I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. Because there were three options on the board. And John, as commissioner, had the obvious choice to make the choice of what happened. And John, we'll let you speak in a moment to explain your decision or whatever you want to say. I would love to give you the floor after. But I just want to make a point of saying something. Number one, going into Monday Night Football, obviously unforeseen circumstances happened. Damar Hamlin, which there's great news, and we'll get into that shortly. Joe Burrow as JB's quarterback. He's down about 35 points. JB has Joe Burrow. So at the moment, we had a couple options on the board. Number one, John could decide and say, look, there's no way JB was coming back. I don't believe he would. Jake is champ. That was a decision he made. And again, John will talk to that in a moment. Number two was we play in week 18 and we would actually give Joe Burrow his projected total, which was about 21 points, and have JB and myself do a playoff. Hold on. And if we would have played in week 18, I'd like you to know, I checked the entire score all week. I scored over 90 points. Your team combined for under 50. So I still would have beat you. And number three, the third option was to give Joe Burrow the points that he scores in week 18 and have them count for week 17. Joe Burrow scored a whopping 11 points. So, JB, you can complain. You can call it tainted. You can call it whatever you want.
Except the asterisk.
He can complain all he wants, but all that needs to be said is this. I won in that week, and I understand that.
He's just going to go on and on.
In week 17, it was different. But I beat you both ways in week 18, and you just can't accept you lost. You lost, big man. You're looking at the champ. I won. I am the champion. Thank you.
The video says you're out of order.
And that's great, John. If you made
out of order.
Good work.
You're out of order.
I'm assuming you did.
Listen, the commissioner made the decision. I abide by it, but I will always say it's an asterisk. As some people look at Barry Bonds' home run record, which I live with, and I say is the correct record.
JB.
So
all the options that were presented had you still losing. So what's your excuse?
Doesn't matter. There is no excuse. They didn't play the game that would have mattered. Either way, it's an asterisk. Accept it. Congratulations, you won. And you have an asterisk next to
and I'm GM of the year for a reason, and you can put an asterisk next to my name.
Next year, when I win, there'll be no asterisk, so I will be number one. Just accept it. I didn't have to fleece people to win. I am the true champion.
Really? Are you sure about that? Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure we all did that.
I am the people's champion.
No, you're not.
That's it.
Raise your hand if you won a fantasy football championship this year.
I did, actually.
Congratulations. Did you beat me?
Beat you multiple times.
I don't think that was a question you asked him.
That's fine. I didn't know he won a championship, and so good for him. I asked you, did you beat me? The answer is no. You didn't beat me in the championship, man.
Beat you in the other league, I guess.
No, I won in that league, too.
He said he was champion in a league.
That's not with me.
Not in that league. Not in that league.
Any leagues I was in, JB has 0 titles, and your boy has
That's
2.
correct. I actually beat the top fantasy people in fantasy people.
So we're not the top. Okay. This just sounds like JB's a little upset that he lost.
No, these people specialize in fantasy football. We specialize in sports talk, all sports talk. We're beyond.
This isn't a Matt Bakota show. This is a
I beat
Jon
him too.
Shearer.
I beat him too.
He does fantasy football. This isn't a fantasy football show.
I understand. I beat him in a championship as well. That's
this
2
is
chips.
Talk about sports show.
Okay.
Exactly. Right now, Mr. Asterisk, you wear it well. I hope you enjoy it.
And John, I got one question for you. Where's my championship belt? When's that coming in?
Well, you got to come here.
That wasn't part of the rules. You told me if I won, you'd send it to me, so I'm waiting.
Yeah, I'm going to send it to you hand by hand.
That's not sending, John. That's handing it over.
Listen, you can have your championship belt. You can have your tainted championship.
That's fine.
The real winner is right here. That's all.
No, it's not. The scores indicate you lost in every which way, JB.
The real winner resides in Brooklyn.
Really? How did you win? Tell me, how did you win? In what way did you beat me?
You guys, again, are out of order.
Oh, JT with a great idea.
Gosh, 2 times in less than 6 minutes.
Presentation next week. JT, our producer in the back, I love the idea. We should do that.
I've never seen an out of order 2 times in less than 6 minutes.
That's fine, but I'm the champ.
Listen, whatever puts you to bed.
So I feel like our teams are in the NFL playoffs, but we really haven't touched that yet.
That's
fine.
Got
about
20 JB, here's something we can agree on. JB, raise your hand if your team legitimately has a chance to win this weekend. No. John, you put your hand down. Raise your hand if your normal starting quarterback is definitely playing this weekend. Definitely.
So your quarterback right now, I don't know if you heard the news about your quarterback, but his agent is asking for $46 million a year.
Where did you see that? I'd love to know.
I saw that a couple hours ago. That is what's
$46 million over how many years?
No, $46 million per year.
Yeah, I'd love to know where you found that. John, do me a favor. Tell me where you found that, because
just let's hope he doesn't win the Super Bowl. So actually, they do. The starting quarterbacks can.
The Giants and him, as of yesterday, the talks were heating up. About a contract.
John, do me a favor. Do me a favor. Where did you find this $46 million a year, please?
I'll find her again.
Please do. Because, look.
And as you're looking for it, see if you can find the asterisk for Jake.
And you know what? And you can find this L for JB.
There was no L. My game
you lost. Just accept that you lost. But anyway.
No.
John, you know what? JB, again.
My guys didn't finish playing.
John, yeah, they did. Let's talk about something we can agree on, JB. Did. Whose quarterback JB, raise your hand if your quarterback has had 0 concussions this season.
Well, is that something to brag about?
John,
are you flexing on somebody that got hurt after what just happened?
Raise your hand if your quarterback has had 3 concussions this year and should realistically probably retire because of that.
Are you flexing after what just happened to Damar Hamlin?
He didn't get a concussion. What?
No, but he got hurt, and the whole
no, that's not the point I'm making.
And not injuries.
John,
you're
I'm pointing out the fact that your quarterback has had 3 concussions this season and should probably never touch a football field ever.
Is that a hill you're dying on?
Be quiet and listen, because JB, you probably hear what I'm saying. Your quarterback has had 3 concussions.
Coming out in full effect tonight.
3 concussions in 1 season. I do not believe he should ever step place on a football field again because he's been hurt 3. He's had 3 in 1 season. To me, that is extremely concerning. I mean,
it's more concerning that his coach put him in 4 days after one of the concussions.
I don't disagree.
I don't get that.
I don't disagree.
That to me was absurd.
But JB, again, let's agree on something here. I'm sure you might agree. I don't know that he should ever play again. Personally, I understand maybe he will, but wouldn't you be concerned as a fan if your quarterback had 3 concussions, period, let alone the same season?
Without a doubt, that's horrible.
I mean,
that's so not good.
I get it. I understand. John, you're still muted. We muted you. You just did not mute yourself.
You should unmute me.
I don't want to because I don't.
There's Mr. Highsmith.
You want to add him?
Yeah. Go ahead. Okay, well, we got a producer in the background for a reason.
Oh, there he goes.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
Hey, great. Hi, guys. How are y'all? I'll take
How's it going tonight?
As long as I have to read anything, I'll be good. It's going well. Just actually relaxing today. Monday's our travel day, so Dave was just kind of kicking back and unpacking the bag for the last time this season. So
that's nice. Jake, you got to put up the eye test. He took off his glasses, so we got to make him read.
All right. So you know what, Sam? Can you read what does my title say, real quick? What does my name say?
Oh, here we go. Asterisk Jake.
GM of Year. FF.
There you go. See, you got it. I was the GM of the year. I beat JB in fantasy football. That's why his name's second place in FF. He's going to complete. You asked me to do an eye test, so I'm just doing what I can, which is saying, hey, can you read that for me? That's all.
That was pretty good. Pretty smooth.
Look, that's not my fault that you asked me to do that. You asked me to do something. I just obliged. That's all I did.
Yeah, I made the semifinals in both of my fantasy leagues and lost both of the semifinal games. I'm like, stinks.
Yeah,
it happens.
But
that's
anyway,
why it's fantasy.
Anyway,
Jake likes to talk fantasy. We like to talk real football.
Then talk. Exactly. You know what? It's fine. You know what? You want to go there, John? Yeah. I'll ask you. Sam, I'll start with you. Obviously, you're very connected to football. Tua Tagovailoa has had 3 concussions this season. John brought up playoff teams, so I was talking about that. And I just made a point, and I'll get your opinion. I said I don't know that I believe Tua should ever play football again. 3 concussions in general is bad, but 3 concussions in one season, I believe, is something that would be really concerning. He's got to consider his health, not just his career. Do you think he should, consider retiring?
Wow. I would say
tough question, I know.
Definitely consider not playing the rest of this year. Retirement, sure. I don't know. That's a tough one. I put myself, my son in that situation.
Sure.
Wow. I don't know.
I mean, I'll just say this. I'm sure linemen get a lot more than 3 concussions in one season, but it's just not, it's just nobody knows about it because their heads are banging around like basically every play. So I can almost assure you they get a lot more than 3. And not that you want that for a player, but I'm sure that there's a lot more than 3 for offense and defensive linemen and players like that. I'm just saying.
And
nobody mentioned that Joe Burrow talked about blacking out in games and still playing. That's pretty bad too, but nobody brings that up. They just bring up Tua because he's
John.
He's a nice piece to talk about.
No, it's because it's recency bias. It happened this season, so I think it's easy to bring up what just happened. Okay, well, this season we've had it 3 times. I think that's why, John. I don't think it's anything to do with anything other than that.
And twice in a week is just horrible, John. That's a horrible coaching decision to have him put back in there 4 days later when you guys could have not only won a game and had you prepared with Bridgewater, you also had your quarterback get hurt again. Bad move. Changed the whole season.
I agree. Thank you. See, JB and I agree on some things.
Well, he was only diagnosed with 2. He was only diagnosed in the Bengals and the Packers. He was not diagnosed.
Does that make it better?
John,
he went to his coaches telling him he had concussion-like symptoms in the last, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, maybe. Yeah, he may not have been officially called. It may not have been called a concussion. Sounds like either a new one or a lingering one, which either way is very telling to me of what is going on.
Yeah,
it's a shame because I like Tua. He's a good kid, with a big heart, and he had a really good year except for the injuries, which, as we know, you can't control. So it's a shame to see that happen to him.
It is.
But I definitely think the coaching staff there did him an injustice long term.
Can't argue that one.
Yeah, I hope not. But wow,
again, I ask you as somebody that's obviously a father of a current player, and I figured okay, if somebody's got an insight to maybe what his family is dealing with and the conversations that maybe could be occurring or anything to that extent. That's why I ask. I don't ask just because you're a neutral party and you're here. I really wanted to legitimately get your thoughts because we've talked about this. Football it's a brutal sport. We talked about Damar Hamlin and we're happy that he's doing better, but we talked about his injury is a freak accident. Well, that's one of those things that's a routine play. It just happens, but Tua being cussed 3 times is not necessarily routine. I understand maybe being tackled is the routine part, but being concussed that many times is a little, I would think it's a little concerning.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the last time Alex had a concussion. I think the last diagnosed one was junior year in college.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, and
yeah, we were very precautious. Very cautious
right.
with it. And, it was luckily. I don't think he was out of that one game. He came back the next. I don't really remember. or actually might have missed the following game, but they were real cautious about it as well. He had one when he was in high school. Ironically, he's playing baseball, JV, at practice, and he was running to routine running from first to second, and the guy was trying to turn a double play, I think, and the ball hit him right in the side of his helmet when he was running, and had won his junior year playing football, and it's like first half of the game, and then he missed the playoff game, or missed the game to qualify for the playoffs. So that was tough, but we had to do what we had to do. I had my nephew, he's 8th grader. He had one playing basketball about a month ago, and he finally got cleared this week. So
it's weird. Concussions, there's different symptoms. They can last different amount of times. Eric Lindros of the Flyers retired because of concussions. I believe he had 7 in a short period of time.
A great player,
and he was a phenom. He was one of the top players in hockey for a while. So I mean, it's not a normal thing to get a concussion. It's not like tearing an ACL or spraining an ankle.
That's not normal. But
I would think that would be more normal than concussion. You can't, because I can get hit the same way 5 times and maybe get a concussion 1 time.
You're right. You're right.
It's hard to explain it. There's not enough known about it. And the NFL's in a weird. And the NFL's in a weird spot because they want to have the best players on the field, but at the same time they want to protect their players as well. So it's a balancing act. They love the fact that Tua's going to go out there and play, but they also want him to be safe because if he can't play anymore, then what do you do?
You're right.
And Alex plays on the Steelers, and something that the Steelers had Kenny Pickett do this season after his concussions is he wears a special helmet, basically, with extra padding that is designed to protect you from concussions, because quarterbacks do take those type of hits probably more than anybody. And that's something that I think the NFL should require all the quarterbacks to do, is wear those helmets, or all the players wear those helmets with all the padding. If you really care about the players and care about them not getting concussions, then that helps reduce the likelihood of concussions by a lot. And I mean, it may not be as comfortable, but I mean, who cares about that? Like, it's about their safety, right? If the NFL really cares, why not just mandate it to where all the players have to wear these helmets with because that's what Kenny Pickett did after his concussions.
I don't know if that helmet would guarantee you don't get a concussion.
It's not a guarantee. It reduces the likelihood.
It's a reduction, I think, is what it
is. What's the reduction difference?
If you can take away 1 concussion in a guy's life, that is huge. That's huge for his brain.
Anyway,
you never know what that can do to his brain.
Hang on 1 second. I got to ask this question, Mr. Highsmith. So your son Alex plays for Mike Tomlin, who I have to say is got to be one of the greatest coaches of all time. The man has coached how many years and never had a losing record. And some of his teams, I mean, he had quarterbacks that, I can't even remember their names.
I mean, this season's a good example, though. Like, rookie quarterback, tough.
Tough division, situation. Tough schedule. And yet the man always has a winning season. What does Alex say about his relationship with Coach Tomlin and, his thoughts on him? And what are your thoughts?
I mean, he said nothing but positive from the time they met on a virtual Zoom, because he was drafted during COVID year, so he didn't get to go visit. And he loved that meeting. Just from the time, and I asked him something. I try not to just ask him all the stuff. I try to not be a fan, just try to kind of be a father and just listen to what he talks about. But I have asked him about him, and he really appreciates him. He's just straightforward with the guys, and he jokes with them, but it's in a cool, joking way. Well, I don't want to say the details of the joke. We kind of made a little joke after the game this past week about just how well he played against Cleveland's left tackle. That's all I'll say. But it was kind of funny what he said to him. But I've been blessed to have met him and seen him one other time after that. And me and my wife both met him before the Buffalo game 2 seasons ago. And we went up to training camp on Latrobe. And when he passed us, he spoke like he remembered, and then he drove back by and said, did a Highsmith, and just kind of just very sincere, and it wasn't anything fake about it. That's just really seemed like that's who he was. And Yeah, he catches a lot of grief from the Steelers. Well, some of the Steelers fans. That's one thing I've noticed, and it's kind of sickening to me, honestly. I don't know. It's just I can understand people wanting to win playoff games. Of course, you're out there trying to win a trophy, but to say you'd rather just keep changing coaches like some of these other teams instead of having
I don't get it.
Records, I just don't get that.
If I had a coach that guaranteed me a winning season every year, I'd be ecstatic. And he does more than that, but just knowing that like he's going to provide me a season where my team has a chance to playoffs every single season, as far as I'm concerned. That's what that means. If you're above 500, you definitely have a chance at the playoffs. If I have that every year and he's won multiple championships, it's not like he's been here for 25 years and never won a championship. He's won multiple. He's done all the things that you need to do as a coach. I don't know what more fans could want from him. Do you want to win a championship every year? I mean, that's unrealistic, but that's what it's based on what you're saying. That's what it feels like. I read
a tweet the other day, and I think it was perfect. Somebody replied and said, I think Bill, and I'm probably not going to quote it well, but Bill Belichick kind of spoiled people because he did it. That's the expectation. Everyone can do it.
Sure.
The franchises has 6 Lombardis, but with Tomlin only having one and been Super Bowl twice, but you got Belichick up there with 6. People think he's not doing this. I mean, it's just, I agree. I would rather have that consistency, knowing that I'm in there. And the fact that those guys played so hard the second half of the season, I think a lot of it was to make sure he didn't have to lose a record. I mean, they couldn't.
How in the world they had a winning record this year?
They had no right to do so, by the way. And I mean that like in the nicest way possible. To start that season, I mean, if anybody was going to do it, it was Coach Tomlin. I'm sure JB or John, you'd agree. But also, like, how do you do that?
I've heard people say, well, you're playing against teams with non-losing records. And I wish I had the time with losing records. I had the time to analyze and say, okay, let's see other teams with their above 500. Who have they beaten? Who have they lost to? Well, they won the games they're supposed to. Beginning of the year, that Jets game, that loss looked bad, but Jets have been competitive all year. Right. New England lost. They've been competitive all year. In my mind, they haven't had a bad loss. They didn't play well against the Jets. Those interceptions hurt them, and they had a chance against Miami. I mean, they couldn't catch the interceptions that were thrown their way. So, but I mean, I was just pleased with the improvement of the defense, and remarkable how the offensive line actually stayed together and played together all year and actually got better. I mean, that's all you heard last year. The offensive line was awful. I mean, they showed legitimate progress. They did.
Right.
And Pickett, I think Pickett's a good choice. I think he's gonna be what they need. He's not going to necessarily be a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's going to be consistent. He's going to give them a chance to win. That's all you want.
Right.
Yeah, that's all you need. I mean, Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. Same division. Yeah. And it's one of the toughest divisions in football. You got the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Browns. They all play tough football when they play each other. It's very physical. So to have a winning record every year you're a coach says a lot about how good he is as a coach. To me, it's a shame you can't put a guy in the Hall of Fame as they're still coaching, but he definitely will be a kid one day, and he deserves to be.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm a Giant fan. Jake's a Giant fan. We had Bill Parcells, who was, a great coach.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm going to say Tomlin's better because Tomlin never had a losing record. Never, ever, no matter who you had there.
That's remarkable. I mean, yeah, granted, he had been all those years, but it's more than just there. There were some rough years.
There were years where Ben was hurt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Several times.
Last couple of years, especially.
I mean, the year they had Mason Rudolph fill in and they had the incident with Cleveland.
It was Mason Rudolph and Doug Hodges, I think was his name, was the other quarterback.
Yes.
It was like, who are these guys that are starting? And
that was the year of
Tomlin does it anyway.
Myles Garrett.
Thing. And he does it anyway.
Yeah, that was
so impressive.
That was crazy. That was crazy how they did it. And through the process, and then he started to narrow down the teams that were talking to him, and he had a interest in. I'm trying to think who else besides Pittsburgh. He liked the conversation. He had a conversation with Arizona, Atlanta, I think Philadelphia. It's one other team that he really liked, but Pittsburgh just kind of kept being a team that he had the most interest in. And, at this point, I mean, obviously, if you know anything about him, he's had his career season, and he's had it the best time right before potential for a contract extension. So we're just going to sit back and let the process play out.
That was the next question I was going to ask you is he's at the point where he can get the extension. And if not this year, next year, he is a free agent after the season. If you don't want to play your cards, you want to keep him close to the vest, don't worry about it. I understand. But I have to ask, just what is the interest level on returning to Pittsburgh? Is that something that, Alex is really interested in? Is he like, hey, I want to just play out my contract and see how next year goes? Or is he saying, no, if I can get an extension this year, I want to be a Steeler for, however, for whatever reasons and for how many years he'd like to be there?
Well, I feel like I can say at least this much. He really loves where he is. He's him and his wife just got a new place and loves his teammates. He would definitely be interested in the extension, but I also believe that he understands it's a business. Absolutely. We talked about that last summer. Just with a lot of things that happened. Actually, the fact that when they didn't keep Bud Dupree, we knew, okay, wow, that's a talent you letting go.
Right.
Then we started looking at it and go, well, I said, they aren't better pay Bud and TJ. So in my mind, it was a business move, and it gave my son an opportunity to do what he's doing. So I'm right now just really looking at the other contracts and okay, who's still going to be on contract? Who are they going to sign? Who are they going to re-sign? So there's a lot up in there, but I can say with confidence he has interest in staying. Because he feels like they appreciate him for what he's done, but he also knows it's a business and he has to make a decision.
Absolutely. And he's got to know his worth too, which is obviously a conversation I'm sure you're having. So on that note, I do have to ask you one more question personally. If he doesn't stay in Pittsburgh, and again, if you want to keep it towards the vest, it's okay. Is there anywhere that he's like that already that he's considering, that he's interested in, anything like that? Again, if you can't say, you can't say. I don't want to get you guys in trouble here, but I do want to know if there's anywhere he's considering looking at, because he's a great player. And I got to be honest, he wants to come to New York. We'd love to have him.
I see where you're angling.
Just saying.
I like it. We're recruiting for the Giants now.
That
was our new job.
No, I can honestly say he hasn't said. That's okay. Honest. That's
all
honest. Right. I do believe down the line at some point before he retires, he wouldn't mind going back to Carolina.
Okay.
I think that's just because we're from North Carolina.
Yep.
And he grew up loving them.
Everybody always wants to play in front of their whole family and everything. I get that.
That's it. But
great hockey state too. Great hockey state.
Hey, it's funny. Like I've got a lot of people, a lot of these Pittsburghers, these Yinzers on who follow me on Facebook.
I was waiting for you to call them that.
But I still love McCain. So
that
winning streak going. I had to post that up there. I didn't get a lot of likes on that. It was kind of funny.
Like this guy.
Yeah. So coming out of college, it was during COVID. What was it like? The whole process. Because usually you'll have the combine, you'll get to work out for teams, you'll have pro days, and Alex comes out of Charlotte, which isn't a bigger school. So it's harder to get people to look at you already. So what was that experience like with COVID?
Well, fortunately, they went along and kept the combine. They didn't cancel it, but they canceled all the pro days afterwards. Fortunately for him, he had a very, very good combine. He ended up being, of those in the edge rushers there, he was a co-MVP. He had a great, I think he had like the third or fourth best 40, and his field work was excellent. That's when I saw him do his field work. I said, God, he belongs, he fits in, he's smooth out there. But a lot of his teammates, several of his teammates, I thought he had a chance at getting a look. They hurt them a lot not having that pro day. But that and the Shrine Bowl, he did well there. The game itself, you don't do as much, but during the practices when the scouts were there, he really showed off. And I don't mind saying he was a Senior Bowl snub. I think there's a lot of politics and all those things, and nothing personal against anybody, but he was third team AP All-American. He was fourth in the country in sacks, two-time first team All Conference. To me, the Senior Bowl is for someone like that, someone who's played at a non-Power 5. Show yourself against the rest of them. Kyle Duggar brought himself from. Kyle Duggar was FCS.
Yeah.
played in Lenore Ryan here in North Carolina, and that Senior Bowl gave him opportunity. So there was always somebody else needed to be on that Senior Bowl team, and he wasn't that person. But it's like anything else, man. He's had a lot of I won't say snubs, that's kind of overused, but he's been overlooked for a lot of things. Being that
he's been underappreciated or maybe overlooked, I think is a good way to put that.
The whole time. I mean, but that's been the fuel for the fire. Actually,
I was going to say that's what inspires him, right? I mean, that's what pushes him.
Seems to make him stronger because great year.
If you would tell anyone, including him and us, that a kid who didn't even play varsity ball till his junior year, and he started, but he wasn't. He was literally a 0 star. Had a great senior year, but still was not looked at. No FBS offers. Will go on his 3rd year. Be 6th in the NFL in sacks. Nobody's going.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
While you play the game, it's a great year.
Absolutely.
And I get a kick. I don't want a kick. How a lot of these guys who come out, they have high rankings. They go on to the bigger schools, and they're 3, 4, and 5 stars. And how many of them don't even make it to the league? I mean,
it happens. I
think a lot of them are hungry. They aren't hungry. They lost their hunger. They've arrived. They've been touted over, and everyone loves them. They've just been the man. They're going, and they go. Even Charlotte, Al said, guys didn't even have the desire. They were just there. A lot of scholarship guys, and that was never him. He had to keep working. He had to work during that scholarship. He had to work during the starting position. Everything. There was a walk-on scholarship that they give in the country, and I thought his story was like great. I mean, look at this guy. I mean, a true walk-on, not a preferred. He wasn't even a preferred walk-on. He didn't go to campus first year. He had to wait until the first day of school, like the general guy off the street, to come in. So that was an extra trip he had. So, and he didn't even make the final. I was kind of disappointed. The guy who won the award, and I won't say his name. I just remember watching the combine, and of course, me and my wife will watch. I said, yes, the guy who beat outs for that Burlsworth Award. I mean, it was. I don't know if he's playing, he doesn't do anything. So I mean, it's just every little thing. And
that's what makes him so great, right?
And then he got the Pro Bowl snub. So
I love it.
Once again, another snub. So it's like, hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Next year is going to come back and be even better. I can see it.
Next year, him and TJ Watt are going to lead that Pittsburgh defense, and man, is it going to be fun. I'm telling you that. I'm calling it now.
If he stays healthy and both of those guys getting double digits, I mean,
oh, that's going to be fun. They're going to be scary.
Where do you put your blocking coverage? I mean, what do you put your scheme? And then you got Cam Hayward right there. So it's going
to be a steel curtain all over again.
You can stay healthy. That's just the trick, man.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, Sam. We really appreciate your time.
Sam. We really appreciate you taking time.
Thank you, guys. I enjoyed any time to talk about my son, but also I'm a proud father, and I tell people, I mean, that's what it's about. And these guys are just normal people, and I'm glad to be the father of one of them.
Those are the words we use all the time. They're normal.
You're welcome back anytime. Anytime you like, you're welcome back.
Yes.
It
was a
Thank
pleasure.
You, Sam, go Steelers.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Go Dolphins.
And God, I hate it for y'all this weekend. That's a tough playoff game going up to Buffalo. Woo! And God, I bet Damar might even be there himself, man. I bet if he can get out that hospital, he'd be there.
Well, I appreciate it, Sam. Have a good one.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Thank you, Sam. Pleasure.
All right. JB, you want to introduce our next guest?
So our next guest needs no introduction. If you listen to Sirius Radio, you know who he is. If you live in Philadelphia, Phoenix, LA, and a host of other markets throughout the country, you've heard him. If you heard him, you're probably still hearing him because I don't think he's ever quiet.
I don't think so.
Here.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, guys. I am so blessed to be on the show that's sweeping the country, the Throwdown on Tuesdays. And first of all, John, what you need to do is you need to stand up and apologize along with TCU and the Seattle Seahawks. You have no business being in these playoffs. So why don't you take a couple seconds and say you're sorry to the whole darn country, along with them frogs out there that were a bunch of Fausters there. Did anybody really think that was going to be a game other than the people of Texas? And you guys are frauds going to Buffalo and trying to think that you guys are going to actually pull something out in Buffalo.
JB,
Mark,
I didn't know you were
love
bringing
it.
on one of the villains from Batman. I had no idea. So,
wow, John.
Thank you.
Wow.
John,
Where were you in? Was that
they
with?
just added a preseason game to Buffalo's schedule this early.
Oh, JB, I think we should get off the screen. Just let the two of them go at it. We'll
Right?
have a great time hanging out.
This is how guys talk. I love it.
Oh, it's great.
John, listen, I got the honor to go to the Giants-Bears game last year. It was January 1st or 2nd, whatever the day Sunday was. And the Giants were down 14-0 in like a minute. I have a feeling that's your fate this Sunday.
Hey, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it because, we haven't been in the playoffs since 2016. So enjoying it, it's been a couple years. Just
John,
like you, the Giants, has been a couple years.
John, but here's the difference. We're playing a team that I believe are frauds. I think they're a good team, but the record is better than what they are. And the Giants have proven they could actually beat them. They lost on like a 61-yard field goal.
And we
come on.
Could beat the Bills. I mean, we beat them once and almost beat them a second time.
No, John, you didn't prove anything.
I think it. You know what, John?
You're not going to guarantee to have Tua. That's why I don't think.
I think,
that's
John,
my concern.
It's going to take you a longer time to get up to Buffalo and come back than actually play that game because it's not going to be worth playing that game. I don't know.
I'm not going to disagree.
Your record under 30 degrees, if I'm not mistaken, is like 1 or 2 and 20 something.
Oh, yikes!
And
you have no Tua. You're in trouble, John.
I don't know if we have Tua. The Wednesday injury report hasn't come out yet, so I'm not sure.
That's fine, but I'm just saying.
I assume we're not gonna. I
wouldn't count on it.
The NFL made a mistake. They should have brought in that 8th team. You would have got Detroit in there. You would have got Pittsburgh in there, and it would have been.
I would have liked that.
That would have been something, but you kept those 2 teams out that were hot, and now we're subject to watch the Seattle Seagulls get their rear cleaned out in Northern California.
You know what?
The only thing Seattle's going to figure this thing out is the rain is going to come down south of them, so they're going to feel at home, but it's not going to be a home game for Seattle.
All this proves is that adding a 7th seed doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't. It just adds. It just adds a practice week, so to speak, for the number 2 seed in this case. They're just going to shellac whoever it is, and it's not going to make a difference.
I don't think that would have been the case if Detroit would have made it.
No, but I'm just saying. But John, what actually happened? That's what it's proving. Is that it's not adding a true large amount of value, in my opinion. It's not.
But I'll be honest with you, though. These are both division games. As much as we say that there's a huge disparity, division games are weird.
No, we're not playing a division rival. What are you talking about?
Not us. I'm talking about the Dolphins, Bills, and the Seahawks, Niners.
Okay.
Those are both division games, and it's the 3rd time of the year. So,
you're right.
Any team can win that. I mean, as much as we want to say that the Dolphins don't belong there and the Seahawks don't belong there, they know the 49ers. The Dolphins know the Bills. So if any team in the playoffs can actually beat the Bills, if the Dolphins execute their game plan perfectly, they could win. Do I think it's going to happen?
No.
Hell no.
So I'm going to speak in JB language.
The
Dolphins started out as a 10-point underdog going into this week. They moved the line to 11 already, and we haven't even seen the injury report, which means that Vegas seems to think that Tua's not going to play. If it's to your point, Jake, and to JB speak, it's an 11-point game in a playoff game. I mean, that's crazy. That's rough. Never see a 11-point disparity on the betting line. You never see that in a playoff game. See, in a regular season, not a playoff.
Because there's a point to all this, I know. Or is that just the point?
I was just
John.
You're just admitting that there's
almost do a double for that Miami Dolphins coach. So if he missed a flight and you flew up there, I don't.
Oh, John. Unfortunately, he's correct. I mean,
John, you realize you've been taking flack on the Dolphins for the last 3 days. Like, no matter who we talk to in a group conversation, they've got after you about the Dolphins.
But if we win Sunday, I want to make sure all these people. I want Madman
all be here.
Back here next Tuesday. If the Dolphins win, I want him back here,
John.
Right in that spot,
we will
right
all
down
eat
there.
crow and deal with it. I think I speak for all of us when I say that.
Let me tell you something. In the go back to that college football game. Did anybody really, honest to God, think that TCU belonged in this? When Kansas State knocked them out, I said to myself, they still don't belong in this. How do you keep USC out of it? And USC lost the passion, and they laid down against Tulane. But how did you bring this Mickey Mouse Cinderella lost her slipper team? I call them the fraud frogs. How do you bring these guys into a championship game with a team that had something actually to play for that can probably three-peat here?
You know why? Because the college playoffs are a mess. And
you only have 2 conferences that actually count.
Exactly. That's the problem.
It's really 1 and
yes.
2, because the Big Ten really isn't as good as the SEC, but at least they're competitive.
There's like 2 good teams in the Big Ten. That's it. Like really good that I'm like, okay, deserving of the playoffs. Michigan.
I feel like the Big East folded a long time ago. The ACC is just Clemson.
It's Michigan and Ohio State right now.
Pac-12 is always
Michigan and Ohio State are the 2 Big Ten teams, and I'm like, yep, playoff teams, they deserve it. The rest of them, at the moment, no. So you might as well just be like, okay, forget everybody else in college football. Just literally forget the Big Ten. Just forget anybody outside of like a handful of teams. Really, it's TCU was a great story. It was exciting. I loved it, but it proves one thing to me. UCF a couple of years ago, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, I think they went undefeated during the regular season. And they didn't make the college playoffs. It was the right decision. I understand that they were record-wise, all these great things. They would have got they would have gotten crushed. There is no – it's apples and oranges. It's totally
you got to keep the Coastal Carolinas and the TCUs and these Boise States – in their own little conference, and maybe they can kind of concoct something. But when you match them against the Georgia and Alabama and the SEC, they're in over their heads.
It's not fair.
There's an answer to all of this. The college football season becomes the NCAA basketball tournament. You start week 1. Alabama plays, Sisters of the Poor, which would be 164. If they win, then they move forward.
I love the idea.
Just do that.
Well, and not only that, guys. I mean, these people, they get excited. I mean, you see them in these towns. They get on there. They got the shorts going. They have 2 beers in hand. They look like Stone Cold Steve Austin, chugging them in a tailgate, and they're getting excited because Alabama is kicking Bowling Green's ass, which is favored by 60-something points. How do you lay 300 ducats down to go see that garbage?
I don't know. But on that note, I want to move on to something else that needs to be talked about. And John, I tuned into the sports arena last night and you talked about it. I mean, everybody's talking about it. Because we need to take a minute on our show to talk about the atrocity that is the Houston Texans in firing Lovie Smith, because there's good and there's bad in this situation. And I'm going to start with the obvious, which is the bad. The Texans are just a pitiful organization is how I'll call them. Firing Lovie Smith was just, they never wanted him. They always wanted Josh McCown. They only hired him, as John, you said it, and I couldn't have agreed more. Yep. It was a PR stunt. It was just to make them look good. Minority coaches are not a very common thing, unfortunately. They did it because they knew with everything going on, that would be the one thing that could make them look good. But I want to talk about the good now, and this is why I'm really excited to talk about this, because Lovie Smith, of course, gets fired, and I'm not happy about it. But I also love what he did, because he sent them with the ultimate double bird Eli Manning on Monday Night Football. It was beautiful, because he says, you know what? I know I'm getting fired at. He knows
Buffalo Bills in
he knows
for the playoff.
He knows he's got no chance to keep his job after this game. He knows already, whether he's been talked to or not. There's no chance he can even possibly believe that he's keeping his job, because he knows what the Texans are about. He sends them off with a win and says,
yes,
here, this is your number 1 overall pick. You want it? Bye-bye. Throws it away and says, it's not yours. It's going to the other team. It's going to the Bears.
Team.
And I love it. I loved that.
Well, what I find, absurd is the poor man went into upper management office to basically beg for his job. It came out that he went in there to say why they shouldn't fire him, why they should give him another year, which they should, because he didn't pick the players.
What was he supposed to do?
The Texans, although they're not a good team, they played hard all year. They didn't give up week after week. They were in most of their games. They just couldn't win them. And if you look back historically at teams that do that, there's progression. The next year they start winning some of those
games. Look at the Lions. The Lions are the perfect example of what you just described. Last year, they weren't doing very well, but they had a good coach that fought hard. And they were in every game. And look at them this season. They nearly made the playoffs. They were this close. I mean, they were inches. They could smell it. I can't argue with that at all.
Batman?
Well, I'll tell you first of all.
He's the Penguin, not Batman. Watch yourself.
That's
what you're looking for.
Said Madman.
Oh, this is Batman. All right, well.
Is Lovie Smith on Jacques Vaughn, the coach of the Brooklyn Nets, are they related? Because I'll tell you one thing. These guys look like they can play in the Paramount Plus 1883. They got the haircuts that look nice, but the beard's gray. It just doesn't match, man. Dude, he got fired because he didn't shave. That's why he got
What
fired.
is this, the Yankees?
I was going to say, what is this, the George Steinbrenner
Here's
is that what's going on?
Let me tell you something. Lovie Smith, I was never a big fan when he was at the Chicago Bears. And boy, the Bears getting the number 1 pick. We haven't seen this since 1946, I think. But he never turned around the Bears. He comes to Houston, and then we got the Deshaun Watson, and I don't know how the hell Cleveland gave him $230 million.
Because they were desperate and stupid.
Yeah, that's okay. You assaulted everyone in Houston, Texas. Don't worry about that. That's not our city. Just don't do it in Cleveland. We'll pardon you over here. Come on, man. And then you treat Trevor Bauer like Trevor Bauer got treated. I mean, the problem with the NFL, guys, is I really think when you really look at this, and I said this on XM with the boys, I think we might not see this in our lifetime. We might see this 3 decades from now. The NFL's headed for flag football, and Soccer Mom's going to put an end to it.
I hope not.
100% right.
I 100% agree with that.
I'm not going to argue with it. I just hope not.
Watch guys sack quarterbacks like a normal sack, and that's a flag.
Listen, we are very lucky that the freak play, because it wasn't anything vicious what happened with Damar Hamlin. The man almost died.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at concussions and injuries that happen on the football field, you know, and then to have that happen on Monday Night Football in front of the whole country, you know, when you already have the whole CTE issue going on with the NFL, with that whole lawsuit that was resolved, and all the other injuries, Tua with his 3 concussions, you know, it's going down a bad hill unless you figure something out and how to make the game safe. And I'll be honest with you, when you watch the way that the NFL is trying to make the game safe, it doesn't make any sense. You make a normal tackle, it's a flag. You know,
you lay a pinky on a quarterback. I
fall on the guy I tackle.
JB, you breathe in the general direction of the quarterback. Oh, that's a flag, 15 yards. I mean, come on.
I raise my hand because I'm trying to tackle you. It's illegal hands to the face of the quarterback.
Well, we can send people to the moon.
Yeah.
No, we can send people to the moon, boys, but we can't come up with a helmet or somewhere. And, you know, when I look at the 4 major sports, I've always said to me, I've always liked hockey the best, and I played it for a few years.
Got my jersey on, man.
I keep my teeth playing goalie, but and my nickname was Blue Line, but that's a story for another day. But I will tell you this: when you look at what they've done in hockey, they've kind of curbed the fighting a little. They kind of, you know, made the guys wear helmets. They got rid of the Halloween mask. Clint Malarchuk almost died on the ice, and they came in with the throat thing. But football seems to always kind of push this under the rug, and now the rug is a mountain, and you know you come up with these bounty gates and all this. Come on, man! Tom Brady doesn't cheat on 6 Super Bowls. Give me a break. And it's you throw Ray Rice out of the league, but you let Deshaun Watson in the league. So, you know, you make rules as you go. I just think the NFL is going with like heavyweight boxing. We grew up with heavyweight boxing, Rocky Marciano, you know, George Foreman, Muhammad Ali, you know, all these guys. Where's boxing today in the heavyweight division?
Exactly.
I don't know, Jake. You boxing next week?
No, not quite. Thought about it. It was heavy consideration, but I decided not this weekend. Maybe the next weekend. We'll see. I couldn't last weekend, maybe in 2 weeks. We'll see. It's on the docket. It's one of those things I want to do, but can't decide yet.
I don't know.
But you're right.
The NFL is definitely in trouble. They
are, but
they do not care.
Listen, we have
that money keeps coming in.
I gotta say, we have the greatest producer in all of sports radio. JT just let me know that the NFL players have approximately 3.8 times higher chance of concussion in a regular season game than an NHL player.
Two contact sports.
That. That's scary.
And I'd like to point out.
Puck
in hockey,
your head.
In hockey, you have guys on skates going at each other, though, upwards of about 20, 22 miles an hour, depending on how fast they are. But I would say a minimum, like if they're going really fast, which it can happen, not supposed to, but certainly it happens every now and again where you're going to the boards, right, and trying to stop. They could easily still be going as they're trying to slow down 15, 16 miles an hour, maybe, as they're trying to slow up. If they come into contact too early because they can't slow up, they're smacking each other on the boards. No, they're fine.
Well,
the chances are lower considerably. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, and they're going to solidify that Arizona situation with that Mullet Arena with 5,000 people.
Oh, don't talk about that.
Arizona State. But let me tell you, when they solidify that, for a sport that doesn't have the money the NFL does, because the NFL with $40 million TV contracts and everything, I look at the NFL and I think to myself, you got Mark Davis over here bitching that in Vegas now the Bears and Chiefs are out drawing his fans. Well, you idiot. You should have stayed in Oakland where you had the black hole
your own
lane.
They loved them out there, yeah.
But hockey, man, hockey's on, Wayne Gretzky, I will tell you, solidified it, not to take anything away from Jackie Robinson and Bird and Magic and all that, but Wayne Gretzky should be the ambassador of the NHL for putting these cities like Seattle and Vegas with hockey where it's just prospering. I mean, we got a Winter Classic in Seattle.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to that. I love the Winter Classic every year, but that's not the point.
What they need to do is figure out a way, though, and I think the deal that they had between ESPN and TNT to bring more fans in, because to be honest with you, the average sports fan is not a hockey fan. The three of us here all love hockey. You love hockey more, but the average sports fan can care less about the NHL, and it's a great sport. I don't get it. I mean, great. I'm not up on it.
Well, I will tell you another sport that's kind of going by the wayside, and I don't, when you look at it, is the NBA. I grew up with the Birds and Magics and all that dynasties. The only thing that's keeping the NBA afloat is that team in Milwaukee that I've always loved when they had Jabbar and Danridge and Robertson and all those guys, and the Golden State Warriors. You take those two teams out of the equation, I think the NBA is just, it's fallen by the wayside. No defense being played, to a certain extent. And, they're tired of the Durants and all these other guys. I mean, play the game, man. You're making big money. Let's get some role models.
The resting and sitting out games because you don't care about the regular season is just it's a business.
You can thank Popovich on that one, resting guys in Miami when they only made their only visit there. Now everybody's doing it.
All right, gentlemen,
I've always hated that.
We have about 2.5 minutes. I want to very, very quickly. Everybody give me one team that you think's winning the Super Bowl really quickly. John, I'm starting with you. And I swear to God, if you say the Dolphins, I will reach for the screen and strangle you. Don't you dare say the Dolphins.
And by the way, we didn't even mention that DeAndre Hopkins is on the trade block now.
I wanted to hear this. He chose his Dolphins. I told them I was going to have to kill him. JB, who do you have winning the Super Bowl? And please don't say the Giants, because as much as I want them to, that's not happening.
I think we're winning one game. But honestly,
agreed.
Super Bowl, San Francisco against Buffalo. Who's going to win that game? I'm going to go Buffalo right now.
Okay. I'll throw it to our madman Mancini. What do you got?
Well, I do radio in Philly on WWDB, so they know how much I hate them since the skins are out of this thing on the NFC side of things. But I think the Eagles got the team that's going to get to the Super Bowl. They got a nice running game, which Dallas can't seem to stop, so you can run all day on the Cowboys. And I don't think the Niners are there. If Garoppolo was there, it'd be a different story. I think it's a smoke and mirror team. They got defense. Tampa Bay, Brady's a winner wherever and then when you look at the Giants and the Vikings and, the Seahawks, I just don't think it. I like the Eagles in the NFC. I will tell you, I think Buffalo and that Bills Mafia up there, they got a lot to play for. And let me tell you something. I don't need to fly American Airlines and Southwest and all this. I could just hang on Josh Allen's football and land in Pittsburgh.
There you go.
So I
like
Eagles in Buffalo.
All right. I'm taking Niners, Chiefs. I think the Niners have a great team, even with Brock Purdy, and the Chiefs speak for themselves. I'm still picking the Chiefs to win. On that note, I'm going to start with Madman. We got just about 30 seconds. Tell the people very, very quickly where they can find you.
XM 203, Sirius 217 on Fridays. They also do a business thing on that. I don't wear no suit and tie. I'm not that. But then WWDB AM 860 in Philadelphia on Thursdays, 6 to 7 your time. I also do third year doing with the Pittsburgh Pirates broadcast. Tarek Block, the first base coach, so we'll gear that up. And I'm in a host of other cities. I love this city, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys each and every Tuesday on the Throwdown, man. And I will be back here, John, when Buffalo steamrolls that game. That's going to be a Georgia TCU game, so you'll have time.
You better waddle your ass back here next Tuesday.
John, where can they find you? Come on.
Blue Hawks 13. Come on, man. It's on the screen.
I know. JB
_ the program. Not the asterisk. That's right below.
Oh, shut it. Below. All right. You guys can find me on Twitter at Jake_Malik. And as you see scrolling across the bottom of the screen, those are all the places you can find Sideline Sports. On that note, everybody have a good one, and we'll see you next time. And again, remember, I am the champion, not JB.